Okay. I'm here with some cool people. Tim Bryant, Brian Coxwell, Stuart Varner, and Leanne Hunter. I'm going to be talking about.
You aren't cool.
I am not cool. I'm going to be talking about Voyant today. And this is going to be a series that the Digital Scholarship Commons at Emory University is putting on basically this summer for kind of an introduction to digital tools about reading and textuality. Um, and so we decided to start with Voyant because it's kind of a cool distant reading program. And so I'm going to go through a little bit about Voyant, and several of us are going to experiment playing with Voyant, and that'll be what we're doing today. So I kind of wanted to begin by reading a quote to you um, from Catherine Schultz from the New York Times, June 24th, 2011. Distant reading, there are a lot of different thinkers that kind of work within distant reading. Franco Moretti, Lev Manovich kind of calls it cultural analytics. They're kind of doing kind of similar things, and the idea is to use quantitative analysis in order to analyze culture and literature. But Catherine Schultz has an interesting way of saying, the sort of significance of this type of analysis in her piece on Moretti. So she says this: we need distant reading, Moretti argues, because its opposite, close reading, can't uncover the true scope and nature of literature. Let's say you pick up a copy of Jude the Obscure, become obsessed with Victorian fiction, and somehow manage to make your way through all 200-odd books generally considered part of that canon. Moretti would say, so what? As many as 60,000 other novels were published in the 19th century England, not to mention other times and places. You might know your George Eliot from your George Meredith, but you won't have learned anything meaningful about literature because your sample size is absurdly small. And so, one really early way that people started trying to experiment with distant reading, I don't know how early it is, but an easy way is through this Google Ngram viewer. I know a lot of people have probably played around with this. You basically type in a search term, let's say romanticism, fix the time and corpus, so we're going to say 1800 to 2000. And then you search, it says lots of books, and you're basically searching Google Books, the entire corpus of Google Books that Google has digitized and OCR'd over the years for this single word for romanticism. And so if you look, right, there's this really interesting upward curve, and it kind of comes down towards the end. And the question is, well, what is this really telling us? It's really what you're doing in this instance is just charting word frequency, right? So one of the things that distant reading, I think, in my view, distant reading has always been sort of met with a lot of skepticism from humanists, because they say, like, how can something like this replace traditional forms of close reading? And those people who are really interested in different forms of distant reading and textual, digital textual analysis will say that, of course, it doesn't replace it. It supplements it because it gives you sort of a broader view of different types of trends throughout culture. So Voyant is is different, because what Voyant does, the sort of difference between Ngrams on the one hand and Voyant on the other, is that Voyant is more scalable, meaning that you can sort of construct your own corpus of text. You can search through a single novel if you want for different types of word frequencies and relationships, or you can put different corpuses together, or you can upload a single data set in like an XML file and then have them analyze those things. And I want to give a shout out to Brian, because of course he's already experimented with Voyant quite a bit in his Introduction to Digital Humanities class. And so if you go to briancroxwell.net, is that right? Is it .net?
.net/DH.
You can see the project that Brian did with his students analyzing Marie Duffy's poetry. Voyant was originally created by Jeffrey Rockwell and Stefan Sinclair, and it's part of their project called Hermeneutica. And they call this project something that seeks to, in their words, think through some foundations of contemporary text analysis, including issues related to the electronic text used, the tools and methodologies available, and the various forms that can take the expressions of results from text analysis. And apart from just sort of running kind of cool analyses on text, which is sort of primarily what we're going to be doing today. They say on the Voyant page, and one of the things if you visit Voyant that you'll find is that they have pretty good documentation about all of their tools and sort of the history of the development of this site. So it's worth sort of looking through. But they also say that you can clean up textual markup by finding mistakes whenever for librarians who are creating XML files or TEI encoding files. You can develop your own form of textual analysis software, and you can also embed, though I haven't really experimented with this, you can actually create interactive evidence that you can embed in your presentations. So there are ways to create kind of little widgets that you can embed, say, in a PowerPoint presentation or Prezi that you can take and like play around with it in front of people, and they go ooh, and that's awesome. So Voyant's sort of meant for a lot of different things. So what I'd like to do is kind of play around with Voyant. There are several different ways you can sort of enter data into Voyant. So if you look at this front page, you can simply type in a URL and paste it in here. You can also paste the text directly into the form there. Of course, you have a help menu right here if you're confused at any point. You can export data from the tool in order to use later. You can also upload things. Say you have like an XML file on your desktop, for example, or a TI file. You can actually upload those directly to Voyant, and it doesn't have to be online. But for the purposes of today, I thought maybe it would just be kind of cool to play around with Project Gutenberg, simply because there's a lot of text on here, and it's pretty fun. So I thought for the people who are with us today, just to sort of start out with a very simple analysis, where go to Project Gutenberg if you have a computer. And I can let you run mine if you want. Okay. So pick a text that you're familiar with for this initial reading, and I think anything before 1922 is on here. So especially if it's a Victorian novel, if you're a Victorianist, this is like a gold mine kind of thing. And sort of run a really basic analysis and on Voyant. So I'm just going to click in, let's say, Dracula. So yeah, I'm just going to take the HTML, copy the URL, go back to Voyant, put it in here, and then tell it to reveal something. And you see it opens up a whole bunch of different windows. So it's worthwhile kind of looking at sort of this really basic set of windows to show kind of what each thing does. So here you have sort of a really basic word cloud, right? And you can go in, so notice like as you start, like obviously the most frequent word is going to be the ones that are not going to tell us anything. So what you can do is actually go in to this on the, if you click the gear here, you can go in and ask it to create a stop words list. So once you put in the, it takes it out. Is there an easy way to apply it to like all these words at the same time?
You want
Stop words?
No, you want to
No.
stop word list.
Where is it?
It should be this. You didn't type it here, did you?
I did.
Try it again. And by the way, you only, it looks like you only get 15 minutes.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
Just so you know.
We'll just start it afterwards.
So you want to, and then,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, well, you do it if you want. You should be able to just do it. You broke it.
Let me break it.
Can you delete the? You mean you have to choose a different list because it,
Yeah, there you go.
Taperware.
Okay.
So they have it for different languages.
Oh, that's great. So this is all, so it takes out all of the sort of,
What they've deemed as common words, which you can look it up at, all of the articles, but also numbers, like
okay.
ordinal numbers.
So what you have here is a word cloud. You have a basic summary of the corpus. And then over here you have it, they actually have recreated the entire text so you can kind of search where different words are. So one thing that you want to do, let's look at Helsing, because Van Helsing is one of the main characters of Dracula. You can click on this word and it generates, all sorts of different data regarding the word. Number of things that you see here. You can look at this is key words in context or collocates. So like you can kind of see around which words Helsing appears. This is a really useful kind of graph that shows you around how many times the word frequency varies between chapters.
No, it's not chapters.
Oh, it's not.
No, what happens there is it's split the text, the corpus you put in, into 10 equal parts.
Oh, okay.
And so it shows where Helsing shows up in those 10 equal parts.
Okay.
And you can change that, and you can change the number of parts to make it 50 or whatever number you want. Yeah.
But it's sort of a basic kind of overall view of how the frequency varies throughout the novel. And then, of course, you can go to different parts of the text. You click here, where Helsing can be found. And you can also look at it in the context of the novel. So just in this sort of really basic form, you can see that Voyant can do a lot of different things in terms of a single word. I am going, what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to say done with this and then see if I can record another one.